Greetings, everyone. It's Friday, March the 11th, just about the middle of March. Hard to believe that it's just about the middle of March. I want to start with saying, by the way, about March. March is Women's History Month. And once again, some of the folks from our Inclusion Council are doing some really cool things, giving us information and some little known facts about our own staff, and I'm really looking forward to this. So thank you again for Inclusion Council for keeping us on target for these very important hallmark months. Black History Month was February, and of course March is Women's History Month, and who can forget that March is also St. Patrick's Day? I'm ready. I may wear this green sweater completely out before it hits. I'm also very, very ready for spring, but the weather over the last day and today don't seem to be overly cooperative. Notice that I'm not starting with COVID things. There's not a whole lot to talk about there, and I'm going to kind of save that to last because there's a lot of other things to talk about. First off, I want to talk about the employee survey that we did. We've had a committee that's working on that, and they are getting the responses kind of compiled and letting y'all know via an email that will be coming out probably very soon. We've already begun to look at some of the results, and as you know, one of the things that really popped out right in the very beginning and that we've already taken action on, is that we needed to implement an employee assistance program. And indeed, that rolled out. It rolled out at the very 1st of March. Our employee assistance program is through McLeod. We'll be giving you a lot more information about that, but we've already provided ways that you can contact McLeod. And remember, we provide a number of visits for both you and your family for this very valuable service. Think about how this can help you deal with stress, with the anxiety and some of the probably depression that's come about as a result of these last 2 years that we've all been struggling with COVID. This is very normal, and getting help and having someone to talk to really does help and deal with this. So please access it. We really want it for your benefit. There are a lot of other things that have come out as a result of the survey. We definitely need to do some training over the last 2 years. A lot of things have slipped through the cracks. Training is one of them, and it shows. We particularly need to do some training around our supervisors and managers. We'll be taking care of that. There'll be more details coming out. And we also need to do a better job of communication. The last 2 years, once again, as an excuse, have been really difficult because we've been so isolated and we've become less communicative. I know y'all hear from me every week, but you need to hear more than just from me. We used to have staff meetings, we used to have site meetings, we used to do a lot more and have a lot more opportunity for communication, and we need to go back to the table and revisit this. So you'll see some developments happening around that. Moving on to my next topic, which is also very good news. I think I gave a hint around this last time. We did have a profit for the calendar year ending in December 2021. It wasn't a big profit. I went back and looked at some of the experiences that we had in 2019 where the calendar year profit was over 300 and some odd thousand. In 2020, we didn't have a profit at all, so we're very thankful that at least we ended 2021 with a small profit. It was actually $142,416. Now, I'll be putting this in my email, so I'm not going to go into a lot of detail now, but you remember how this works. We take 40% of that profit right off the bat for distribution to all of y'all. And then there are 5 other quality measures, each of them worth another 2% that can be added to that bonus if we met those quality measures. Unfortunately, we didn't meet any of the clinical quality measures, but we did meet the patient experience measure. So we'll be adding to that 40% another 2%. You'll see all of this in the email. And what the bottom line is, we'll be distributing $59,815 in the checks that go out next time for the annual year-end incentive bonus. So we did a little better. We didn't do quite as good as we could have. There was one particular thing that actually broke my heart. We had a goal set for diabetic control, that is, patients whose hemoglobin A1C would be less than 9, that 74% of our patients would reach that point. In reality, only 73%, so close. I did the math, and if we had only gotten 75 more patients with diabetes in control with less than 9 hemoglobin A1C, only 75, we would have had another 2% that could be distributed. So close. But I'll be giving y'all that data when I do the email in a lot more detail. You'll be able to look at it. Another announcement. One of the things that we have learned over the pandemic is how very different our services for IV therapy, infusion, are over in Hartsville in what we've always called our Suite B services. You know, we at CareSouth have a very large number of very unique services. We have a big program addressing infectious disease and addressing folks with HIV/AIDS. And we kind of made a different program out of that called Care Innovation. And what we learned in that is that it works. Looking at how some unique services can fit into a different world. It's like we come to the realization that we can't fit square pegs into round holes. For that reason, we've realized that we have an opportunity also over in Hartsville with IV therapy. As such, we are making a separate program out of that. Not just for monoclonal antibody infusion, but also for regular IV therapy. We do quite a bit of that in normal times, so to speak, and we want to be able to really provide that for other folks. And, you know, it is a lifesaver in some cases, and being able to do it for folks that are uninsured and that otherwise would have no other place to turn has really made a difference. And it's time now to do a little something different. We've actually got a new name. We will no longer be saying Suite B. We will be calling it, as we do with Care Innovations, a new name. It'll be CareFusion. So we're really excited about that. Our Chief of Business Development is going to be the executive manager leading that program, just as he leads the Care Innovation program. And that really should tell you it's a separate business. It's a separate endeavor. And I think it's going to lead to some exciting developments. So things are changing. For that reason, I also am inviting y'all to think about another change that is on our horizon. You know, during the pandemic, there were a lot of resources that became available through special grants. Congress allocated a lot of money for FQHC specifically to be able to deal with the demands of the pandemic. Demands in testing, demands in vaccinations, and so forth. And for one of those purposes, we purchased 4 Mobies, those little nimble mobile things that sprint around. They are actually called sprinters. into our various communities and have been providing vaccinations and testing in some unique locations. And Care First donated another one, so that we actually have 5 Mobies now, one for each of our service areas in our counties. There won't be the pandemic at near the level that it has been as we progress in being able to control and manage the coronavirus. So we are thinking out of the box. These are wonderful resources. What can we do with them? What are some of the out of the box ideas and thoughts and things that we have learned from the pandemic? I invite you, think about that. Give me your response in an email. What are some of the ideas on how we could use these Mobies in our future? I'd love to hear what your brain juices conjure up and think about as we turn toward what the next stage can be in our utilization of these Mobies. One other thing I want to remind everyone, for the last 2 years we haven't done any recognition for tenure. And some of y'all have been here a very long time, and there's a huge number of you who should be getting at least your 5-year tenure pins. We are catching up on that. We had to place quite a big order for the pins, and we're going to be strategizing on how to be able to hand those out and recognize some of our people that have really had an extensive amount of tenure. So sit tight. We haven't forgotten. We are developing and are going to be on the way developing strategies for getting those and recognizing a very important thing, and that is your commitment and your tenure at CareSouth. A reminder, I think I've talked about this every time for the last several weeks. Our new building will be completed at the end of April. We will be, of course, occupying it with DHEC, and we now have a move-in date. Our first date of seeing patients in our new Hartsville building will be May the 10th. We are really excited about that. And I know the folks over at Dillon are, because their cramped little building over there at best has really been outgrown. So we're looking forward to that, and the new profile that we'll have with DHEC and with expanding our services for family planning and immunizations over there. Also in the way of buildings, St. David's has now got a little bit more closer to seeing some dates on the horizon, and we're pretty looking at maybe pretty sure the end of 2022 we'll be able to look at that. And we're going to be thinking about what it's going to look like in the future. You know, we've learned some really great lessons for those of us who can telecommute. We don't have to be in 4 walls. We don't have to be in offices all the time. It's good that we can be in offices and in site some of the time. But one of the things that we've learned in COVID is telecommuting is not all that difficult, and it can be very valuable. So space may not be always the way it used to be, but we know that we need more. We know that we've got folks that are in cramped or literally working out of their cars. So I'm actually going to finally close with some updates. There is still a virus out there. COVID is still running around. There is an Omicron variant. I really stumped y'all last week with my question. The new variant is an Omicron variant, not a Delta variant. It is called BA.2. In some of the news releases, they're calling it the stealth Omicron. It is getting its presence well known in more of the northern and far west coast states. We don't know yet what that's going to mean for South Carolina, but we do know that it's out there. We also know that we've learned an awful lot in the last several months as we move through first Delta and then Omicron, of how important masks are and how important frequent testing is. That's why At-home test kits have been very, very important. When you've got a sniffle or a symptom or what have you, having an at-home test kit right there can really prevent you from unknowingly going out with COVID and perhaps infecting many, many other people. So we've learned a lot, and hopefully we'll be able to take these tools into account if the Omicron stealth variant does start appearing in a lot larger quantity than in South Carolina than previously. So just let's stay aware of that. Well, I'll keep you informed. Last but not least is some good developments. You know, over the last many, many months, one of the developments have been the oral antivirals. These are oral meds that you can take. You have to take them within 5 days of having either symptoms or testing positive. If you had the symptoms but you didn't get your test for a couple of days later, the clock still starts when those symptoms started. 5 days is a very short and fast window. And that's why the fact that the feds are offering us to have both of these oral antivirals, molnupiravir is one, Paxlovid is the other, available to be dispensed at our Hartsville pharmacy. We're really excited about that because we'll be able to get these oral antivirals, these medicines in the hands of you and our patients as soon as possible. They've not always been easily accessible in other settings like the Walmarts or what have you, but these do appear to be a good measure of how to really respond to the virus. The molnupiravir doesn't have quite as much of an efficacy, or it doesn't do quite as well against COVID. It only has about a 50%, and it has some restrictions on who it should be prescribed to. There's some cautionary evidence around folks that are planning on or are getting ready to have a family. On the other hand, Paxlovid, although it has at least a 90% efficacy in reducing severe hospitalizations and so forth, it has some contraindications for people that are already on certain medications. So it's kind of a plus and a minus as to how well these are going to be able to provide some response for those who get COVID. But we'll have them. We'll be able to dispense them, and that'll be another tool in our tool belt. So that's about all of my news. My question is going to be pretty simple this time. I stumped you too much last time, so I'm going to be easy on you this time. And the quiz question will be true or false again. We will be dispensing the new oral antiviral medications, molnupiravir and Paxlovid, out of our Hartsville pharmacy soon as those deliveries hit. True or false? All right, folks, let's go for that $50. Comes in handy. Y'all take care. Have a good weekend. It's going to be a little chilly, but that'll be okay. Take care. Bye-bye.